Welcome to Wokepedia and Down the Highway, a Beach Boys fraudcast presented by Strange Currencies Music, or Lame Currencies Music. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim. Wait, no, I'm Remy.
Oh. Hey,
Hello.
Tim. No way, Remy.
Tim's out sick.
Tim.
What a baby.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm kind of the Bruce Johnson of this.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rem, for stepping in.
Or am I the David Marks
The neighborhood boy, the friendly neighborhood.
person? Yeah.
That's great.
All right, well, Tim's lame, and
Tim.
we're never going to have him back again.
Yeah. See ya, Tim.
Yep.
You're out.
Yep, fired.
Remy has replaced. Thank you. Thank you, Remy, for making yourself available.
Way
You're
to step
welcome.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Way to
I
step
don't-
up.
Yeah.
I feel like Rem is the expert in this episode.
Well, they are the one, I think, who first referred to this as we shouldn't get into the this is episode 20.
Episode 20.
Episode 20.
Episode
of the
20.
What is,
Fraudcast.
that means a lot.
It does,
It's a significant number.
Yeah. And we're going to get into why that's significant here soon enough. But anything else going on? Other than Tim being a baby?
Tim's a baby. That's about it. I don't know. Do we have listener updates? There's been some.
I stopped after 1 billion. You don't brag.
Yeah, that's true.
I think
No,
we're
but,
closing in on 2 billion.
But I think there's some. I think there were some notes corrections.
Oh,
Didn't we have some corrections?
We do have a correction from the last
revisions? We
episode. Tim sent some notes because he couldn't be bothered
He's
to
on
be
his
here
deathbed,
today. Yeah.
apparently. But.
So Tim did mention that there is a correction. Tim had said in our last episode, the Friends episode, that on "Be Here in the Morning" that Brian sings lead, and Tim was wrong about that.
Yep.
That is an Al Jardine lead. We always want to make sure we give credit where credit is due. So Al Jardine not only sang lead on that, but that correction was given to us by a loyal listener, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Who
Appreciate
DM'd
that.
Tim on Instagram. Thank you, Scott,
Thank you, Scott.
for doing that. Scott's one of the good ones.
Yeah,
We got a few bad ones out there.
There are some bad ones.
We got Seth Rogen,
Yep.
who I think keeps giving us dislikes on the old YouTube.
It happens,
It does. Hey, that happens when you got a podcast of 1.7 or 8 billion
You
listeners.
can't please everyone.
You can't please everybody. So
And you know what? We admit, from time to time we dip into the Wikipedias, but we're not claiming to be the experts.
You're the one who just earlier said I was the expert of this,
I mean,
which I'm not, by the way. I just want to clarify.
Valid.
Remy is the chief vibes expert. Not
That's
not historical expert
horrible.
on.
they will be reading from the Wikipedias today.
Yeah.
In Tim's absence,
because somebody's got to
somebody's got to.
tap that rich resource that is Wikipedia.
I'm just saying.
Have any of you looked up the Beach Boys on Conservapedia?
No.
I think we need to do that during the break. Actually, I'm kind of curious.
Okay. So there isn't anything specifically out there. We just need to be careful.
I don't know. I know that there is such a thing as Conservapedia.
I do know that Stamos autobiography is making its rounds on the Facebooks. I've been seeing people reading it, posting about it. I'm like, I don't need to be watching.
Oh, I just looked up.
Stamos.
I just looked up Conservapedia on the Googles. Famous quotes. So this is on their head tagline. So apparently the owner of Conservapedia is Andrew Schlafly, who we all know from apparently related to Phyllis Schlafly, famous anti-feminist. And the quote is, "Feminism is doomed to failure because it is based on an attempt to repeal and restructure human nature." So, yeah. We're going to have a robust...
There will be
heroes and villains segment in this
today.
episode, but I think Phyllis Schlafly gets a little bit of an early nod for villains.
Interesting.
Conservapedia, though. I'm going to look this up during the break. All right, and we are back on Talking Down the Highway. I had to look up Conservapedia.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Popular articles at Conservapedia. You guys ready for this?
I don't know if I am. Like, I just want to talk Beach Boys.
Nope. Overcoming homosexuality. Atheism and morality. San Francisco values. Obama's religion. Number one.
John Stamos.
Conservapedia proven right. That is my favorite article on Conservapedia. And in the news, what the MSM isn't fully covering.
Okay. Good to know.
Hold on. Biden kills 30 fighters in Iraq and Syria. He did it
Single-handedly?
himself.
He did it,
Yep. Yeah. Well, they're doing such a service for us, Conservapedia.
I am not looking forward to this next election cycle. I just,
There's a whole article here about
Hey,
stop.
yeah. Oh wow. This is so good. There's a whole article about the Beach Boys.
Really?
speaking of,
This is amazing. It's not very long actually. It's pretty short. But it offers up some synopsis of some of the songs. We ready for this?
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Wouldn't it be
curious.
nice? A young man looks forward to married life with his fiance,
Oh, okay.
who was, like
Wouldn't it be
15.
nice? Sure.
Surf and Safari. The guys are ready to hit the beach. Surfing USA. Same as above. There's more of that.
Wow. Thank you for your.
Surfer Girl wanting to go steady. In my room is, according to this, about prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Be true to your school. It's about loyalty to a higher purpose than oneself.
God.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fun is a morality tale about what happens to a girl who lies to her dad.
I think
Yeah.
that's a misreading of that song. Something tells me that.
Don't lie to your father.
Don't worry, baby is about reassurance. I Get Around is about group loyalty in the community.
Sure. That doesn't necessarily sound like a conservative topic, but okay.
God Only Knows is a song about the omniscience of God, omnipresence, really,
omnipresence,
of God.
Yeah.
Kokomo is an allegory for heaven,
Oh,
which is where we want to go.
it is where we want to go.
You Still Believe in Me is a song about God's faithfulness. You're So Good to Me is about God's loving kindness.
Huh.
And hold on, here's the best one. I saved it for last. When I Grow Up to Be a Man
Oh.
is not only about maturity and becoming a responsible husband and family man, but Conservapedia claims it to be, quote unquote, probably their best song.
Probably their best song. I think we need to drink to that claim of the favorite
Conservapedia.
best song. Wow.
Man.
Did they? What is All I Want to Do about? According to Conservapedia.
Getting it on with God.
Getting it on with
Yeah.
that must be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any other 2020 tracks on there? I'm curious.
I didn't see any other 2020 tracks. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're talking about 2020 this week. And I'm not going to lie. Part of the reason why I'm reading Conservapedia right now is one, because gross. But two, I really don't want to talk about this fucking album.
Oh, really?
This album, I have the most to say about. Probably, other than
Well, and so
big
here's the
ones.
thing. Full disclosure, we actually planned to have Remy on this episode before Tim wussed out and didn't show up. Remy was already going to be a fourth.
Right. We were going to have a fourth. Right.
Because they've got some things to say about this record. So we
Apparently.
figured this is a good time to have Remy on as a guest. We've been planning it as far back as when we covered that classic album, Dias de Verano y También Noches!
it's so much worse in person. Jesus.
It's multiple exclamation marks,
Yeah.
Remy. Come on.
Well, yeah,
you
but
can't undersell multiple-
Matt stood up.
I did.
He took his fist to his
Yeah,
side.
it was a little
and
bit
then,
of a.
There was some motion. He was
Yeah, there
pulling
was
the
emotion.
air.
If you've ever seen the portrait of John Brown standing in front of the
it wasn't quite
the
that.
warring armies of the Civil War, that's pretty much what I
It was
looked like.
close.
Yeah.
He was going for it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we've been planning this for a while, and
have.
it just so happens that Tim happened to be out sick this week.
And we're like, who needs him?
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
like, we got a third. So,
whatever.
All right, Remy's here. We're going to talk about 2020. This is our 20th episode. Which
Yay, what do you know?
We did not plan that
Not
out,
planned.
but 2020 is episode number 20, and here we are talking about the cursed fucking Beach Boys album.
Right. Well, oh wait, it's not a coincidence because we've been going album at a time, and this was supposed to be the 20th release for Capitol, right? Isn't that why they named the whole thing 2020?
Well, we had an introductory episode, and we split Pet Sounds into two, so... I know we didn't cover.
It doesn't feel like 20 episodes.
Well, then why did they name
They
it
just
20?
fly by.
Why did they name it 2020?
Well, so we deliberately didn't cover Stacko Tracks because
Which you guys missed. Stack of Tracks is underrated. It's really cool.
Wow,
I like
take. Hot take.
it is what it is. There wasn't a whole lot to say. Like we devoting an entire episode to it. So but
technically,
maybe we
Stacko
missed another
Tracks,
one somewhere in there. Then I don't know. But
They
anyway,
considered a Capitol release then? Because it's
it came out on
literally
Capitol.
the album is 2020.
it was like, how can you phone something in? And
This was supposed to be their 20th.
they must have had an early greatest hits, perhaps, or something. I don't know. I'm
okay.
sure one of those like really, really insanely detailed Beach Boys people who knows the thickness of the pick that was used
Yeah,
by
could
Billy
correct
Strange
us.
on the 12-string guitar part on Sloop John B. Will
Right.
be able to tell us what was the other one that we're missing. But we're here to talk about 2020.
Can help us out.
Maybe.
I think this is the
Yeah. Scott's a good
One
guy.
of our
Scott's a good
listeners
guy. I didn't want to
could
lump
fill us in.
Scott in with the people who like to pick on us for ever referencing Wikipedia.
pick thickness. Yeah, good. Hey.
All right, 2020.
Yep.
What is this album? I mean,
Okay.
really, what the hell is this album?
All right, now you're just not you're wanting to avoid this. I have heard the word cursed
Huh?
come out of your mouth a
Yep.
couple of times. I think Remy, is that your take?
Yeah. I have a whole backstory with this, which I've told Matt multiple times and almost wrote about it for the Beach Boys write-up we did, plugging that.
For Strange Currencies.
For Strange Currencies.
Which Remy was totally dramatic in that. Let's be totally honest.
a little bit over the top.
What do you mean over dramatic?
Something about like your entire family would be murdered if you were listening to an album or something
No,
like that.
I probably did say something a little melodramatic like that. But no, there's this whole like, I don't know, seeing English parallels in between literature. We all know Prometheus, giving fire to humans and then being punished for it.
Prometheus.
Frankenstein, that kind of idea,
Okay.
What if this is in a lot of ways the Beach Boys' punishment for trying to make a blank to blank,
Oh.
trying to reach that perfection, and this is like, hey,
Maybe it's
like-
the Icarus tale. They flew too
it's a little
close to
Icarus,
the
it's a little
Okay.
Icarus, it's a little Prometheus,
Prometheus. Okay. And it
It's a
ends
little-
up being a little more Frankenstein.
which I mean isn't like.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not what happened, but that's how I view this album very much, is the aftermath of getting too close to perfection, more so than Smiley Smile, Friends, and Wild Honey are. I just realized I did those out of order. I meant to do those in order, but
We knew what you were talking about. Interesting.
it's-
Okay. I can get behind this whole idea that this does feel like chopped and fragmented and, not ideal. And when Matt swung by my cubicle the other day, is it a cubicle?
in the old office.
in ye old office,
We were at
and
the water cooler.
We were hanging around the cooler, kicking back.
I was sending a fax.
And Matt mentioned this whole, cursed theory, like kind of rolled his eyes. He had to listen to it again. And I was like, really? Is that just because we've seen, we know the Manson story. We know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or whatever, and do we project that onto this album?
I think it's more than the Manson stuff, which is interesting. I think something that feels, again, I don't even know if curse is the phrase I would use anymore, but there is something so fragmented where this album at points sounds like it's 4 different bands fighting each other to get onto it. And that might have just been just purely desperation of like, all right, we've got this backlog of songs. Let's just get it out and then, focus on the next two, whatever. And that's honestly probably really what it was.
Well, isn't the White Album that? Isn't the White Album that?
Well, I was going to say, there's
It's-
another album that comes out just a few months before this that is definitely 4 different artists being pulled in 4 different directions, but it's not fucking cursed like
But
this.
it's different though, because the White Album is 3 different artists and Ringo looking.
Hey,
Ringo
easy,
contributes
easy.
his first fully written original
True.
song on that album. Come on, Remy.
Plus, he sings on Good Night, which is really good. But that is, 4 artists fine looking to the
Listen for your
future.
footsteps coming up the drive.
4.
I'll listen.
All right,
for
all
your
I don't know
right.
why you
footsteps,
sound like David
but
Bowie
they
now. When you
don't arrive.
sound like David Bowie instead of Ringo. Anyways, but no, that's 4 artists pushing towards the future, where they're pulling from the past, they're pulling from their future. The Beach Boys, that is, are pulling from the past, they're pulling from their future. There's songs obviously from Smile on this. There's songs about songs from like the first few albums on this. You get that weird little like you definitely get some of that like Sunflower Surfs Up energy in some of the songs, where it's going to move into that early 70s hippie-ish territory. You've got still some leftovers from the post-Smile trilogy, and you've got a little bit of that, folk rock that comes out on Carl and the Passions and stuff like that.
It's a
And
hodgepodge.
it's a hodgepodge, which makes it feel like, I think it's a hodgepodge that works to make it feel so just strange and weird. And
It's a contractual fulfilling obligation. It's a hodgepodge. It's this just weird collection of stuff that doesn't belong together, that doesn't necessarily work out of its original context in a couple of cases of a couple of songs. It's just weird.
it's weird, but it's
fucking
just
weird. And you know what?
the
It starts before you even listen to the music. And you know what? It sounds like it's time for an episode of Sound and Vision. All right, Sound and Vision, where we discuss all things aesthetic using the scale provided to us by David Bowie. Glenn, if we really like something, we call it a...
Low.
That's right, David Bowie's masterpiece. Remy, if we really don't like something, we call it a...
Never let me down.
Yeah, that's right. Loyal listener.
Loyal
who
listener. Rem knows what's up.
Knows what David Bowie's worst album is, and which
Yeah.
David Bowie definitely let us. David.
Clearly.
Serious, man. Come on.
David, it's all right. All of us make mistakes.
That's an air ball. All right. And it fits in the middle. Comfortable middle ground. That stands.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we got here? We got this album cover where there are 5 Beach Boys on it. And
Oh, sweet. 5 Beach Boys.
they're back to...
Yay, they're back.
We all
Yay.
know there's only 5 Beach Boys because Bruce Johnston is just a useless dude with a big head. But wait a minute. Hold on. I see Bruce Johnston. I see Carl. Good Carl.
Good Carl.
I see Al Jardine wearing a Lebowski sweater with prayer hands.
Is that a...
I see Dennis.
Isn't that a TikTok meme? Is that...
I see Dennis wearing striped pants that he borrowed ahead of time from Greg Demos, the bassist of the classic Guided by Voices lineup.
How have we never...
And front and center, I see Mike fucking Love, bald as all fuck. I mean, pretty much, right? But wait a minute. We got 5 Beach Boys on this album cover, and not a single one of them is Brian Wilson.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Fucking never let me down.
Never let me down.
Yeah.
No question.
Streak
never
is
let me
over.
down.
The streak
It's
is fucking
done.
over.
It's can't.
Wait,
yeah,
wait.
Glenn and Tim,
Hold on,
no,
hold
Glenn
on.
and Tim went on way too long with
No.
low.
Hold
Oh, we're gonna have a
on.
load of Wild Honey. We're gonna have a
Hold
load of
on.
Friends. This is a never let me
Never
down.
let me
Hey,
down.
Never
can
let
I
me down.
can I make an argument
Nope.
for a soft Let's Dance?
No.
No.
I really like. Well, I'm gonna give it a soft Let's Dance, anyways. Like
Overruled.
Overall,
I-
you're never welcome
Hold on,
back.
I
In Tim's
like,
notes that he sent to us, he gave it a never let me down.
I like the typography. I like
That's fine.
I like the red background. It's a little weird because Dennis's shirt kind of blends into it. I like maybe not how they look, but I like the I guess shape of how they all like
No,
are standing together.
Like that gigantic head.
Too generous.
The gigantic
too
head.
generous, Remy. Too generous.
I think it's funny. I think it adds to just the weird nature of the album. Like you had to take it in context of the rest of the album, and a good album cover
no.
gives you the energy of.
No,
plus,
it's
if you
off.
take in
It's
the
off.
gatefold and the back of it.
Okay.
I love the
All right.
gatefold. The gatefold is so good. The
Okay,
inside,
You have to open it up to see Brian Wilson, and you
Yes,
see these
and then-
5 other doofuses before you see Brian.
and then the back is amazing. I like the back photo a lot.
It's pretty much the same photo as live in London.
But it's like a little like, does it have like the weird kind
Yeah,
of
it's
blurriness
oblique.
to
It's
it?
kind of
I
got a-
like it. I like.
Okay. I like the
It's-
back, but it does not make up
I
for
think
the
it.
omission.
Never
I
let me down.
think it
Never let me down.
Never
represents
let me
the album in an interesting way.
No. How have we never talked about Dennis's like medieval helmet haircut? like the hair like around like their earmuffs.
Yeah.
I just
Never
It's
let me down.
vaguely-
never let me down. No.
Never let me down.
Yeah, you can't get around that. You can't not
we're good.
have you
We're
can't
good.
do a band
I
photo without
filibuster.
Brian.
All right,
I
great episode.
filibuster.
Great
It's
episode.
over.
All right,
All right,
moving
great
on.
episode. Solid.
So any other context that we have to have?
episode
So this is
Well, there's-
this is 1969.
All kinds of context here.
Yeah, Brian has spent some time in a mental institution.
Yes.
So that's a thing.
That is a thing. And why? Why has this all happened? Well, he's poured himself out into his art, into his craft, and it's been met with just like rejection from those closest to him. Those,
and
those
now there's a
yeah.
significant amount of commercial failure. We talked last week about how Friends came in at like 127 or something on the charts. I mean,
Yeah.
this is this band that had topped the charts,
right.
and now 127. Like that's got to be a hit to the psyche
Yeah.
for Brian.
Well, and he's been, he's had his hands tied behind his back here. Like he's got, Mike Love kind of like implying that you got to write some rockers that we can play live or that I can play. And, there's this back and forth about like, what are the Beach Boys if we can't, do these intricate songs? They got to be simple enough that we can play them live. But Brian's like trying to come up with these masterpieces in the studio and all these orchestral different creative arrangements and different types of storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, even zooming back just a little bit, let's go back to the context of Pet Sounds. 1966, he makes this perfect record.
Right.
The three of us said the greatest album ever. And again, there's plenty of other people who have opinions, but it's so
It is
great.
good. Yeah.
It's not even the best album of that year.
Oh, stop
it.
Revolver.
Stop.
I mean, great
Anyways.
album, but whatever.
Anyways.
So then he goes to make his blank to blank,
Yeah.
and he comes so close to finishing it, and it doesn't happen because of various reasons, but much of that being intestine squabbling
squabbles,
inside of the band. But then they retreat and they make these 3 just freaking great, low-key, easygoing, vibey records.
Which I have come
that
around
we
on.
all like all
Yes.
3 of those records. Like, we all love all 3 of those records.
But they could have even been better. That was my only criticism of
Sure,
that
but
trilogy.
they're like Brian's pouring his heart
Yes.
into like authentic,
Right.
making real music and singing from the heart, like Murray had told him to do. And
Plus, she's
then-
going bald.
well, yeah, which is an
Unnecessary.
existential concern for everybody, especially Mike Love. But anyway, so he pours his heart into these records, and now like Friends goes to 127, and we've already established Brian cares a whole lot about what other people think of him.
He does.
He thrives and also wilts depending on what other people have to say and how they express their understanding of what he's given to him. And so he's damaged. Like he's seriously damaged at this point. And there's this long-standing perception that, Smile is the thing that breaks him. I don't know that that's the case. I mean, Brian is a full participant in the post-Smile trilogy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
great records.
Especially
but now
Friends,
This,
yeah.
And now this is the first one where, look, I hate this cover. Never Let Me Down, as we already established here. But it is kind of representative of the fact that there is a gigantic hole in this band now.
Well, I found some interesting quotes on Wikipedia about this. If we're going to talk,
Seth Rogen.
if we're up to 2020 now.
Well, I mean, Tim's not here, so we got to have somebody read from Wikipedia.
Well, I was just saying it's interesting. So it peaked at number 3 in the UK, and it peaked at number 68 in the US. Reviews at the time called it pretty disjointed but good. Maybe their best since Pet Sounds. That's paraphrasing it. There's also a Dennis Wilson quote right here I find interesting, in which he says, 2020 was the only letdown of the Beach Boys' career that embarrassed me through and through, which saying that in 1967 or 76 is interesting. It was the first album the group made that was completely disjointed. So disjointed is a key word that people then were saying, that people in the band were saying. I'm pretty sure Matt said it. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we're looking at.
The key Beach Boys literally not on the cover of this album. They're missing something. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and dive into side A and talk about what is this thing that they give us here, 2020.
And it's time. It's time to open up and listen track by track to 2020, which, again, we've talked about the context. Here they are. What are the Beach Boys going to do? 20 albums in to their capital, and their vision past, vision future. In Don Wass's documentary, I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, Marilyn, Brian's wife, recalled that at this point, at this time, Brian was like, okay, assholes, you think you can do as good as me or whatever, go ahead, you do it. You think it's so easy, you do it. And so Brian has stepped back, and the rest of the guys are given the reins, and we get Do It Again.
Okay.
Do It Again.
Do It Again.
Is
Do It
the
Again.
first track.
Yep.
And so,
Well, Tim sends his info to us, and Tim has one word here. Do It Again. Sucks.
Yeah.
I disagree, and one, that's also not true because Brian Wilson is still credited as a writer on
Okay.
Do It Again. Rate Your Music says it's co-written by Brian Wilson and Mike. So yeah, he is a part of it, and Tim is wrong. I think the song, Tim is
No, you can say it.
Tim, I think it sucks in a different way, in the fact that I think it's a really, really good song. But it is the first time we get a Beach Boys song that is like, hey, remember the old ones in the past? Like, remember that? Like, we're gonna reference the Lonely Moon or Lonely Sea and stuff like that. We're gonna reference it, and it's a song based off of that. And if it was Alone in a Vacuum, I wouldn't knock it down for that. I think it's a great song.
That's
and you know what?
exactly
In 1969, like, after 1968, sure, have a song about the past. Like, that's not an awful idea, but it sucks for what it precedes
And what it represents too. It represents this attitude.
Or precedes, sorry.
Yeah, it represents this attitude that we can't go forward, so let's just
Go back
and just do that again.
Let's
some issues
glue
here.
the formula back together.
Right,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
I'm going to say first off, I actually think this is a good song.
I like the song.
I like it.
I do
I actually
too.
like it a lot. But first off, this is where Mike Love, I think, really realizes his future. And his future is in the past. That's all there is to it. It is drum up nostalgia for this thing that we did from 1962-ish to 1965-ish. And that's what you remember. That's what you love. Let's do it again.
conserve
Let's
those
do it
memories.
again. Let's do it again.
There's that conservative.
That's where Mike Love finds his quote unquote artistry. But if it comes out on one of those 80s records, like and wasn't just produced within an inch of its life and everything, I'd be like, this is a fucking great song.
Yeah.
But here's context. They record this sometime probably in 1968. Comes out in 1969. These guys are still in their 20s. Like, this is a song that should be made by some
Old men, yeah.
Old men,
See-
like dudes in their, I say old men, but dudes in their like 40s, late 40s, in the 1980s.
It disagree.
Has that kind of energy.
I disagree. I think one thing that does work for it is a very late 20s nostalgic kind of feeling. Or I think there is, again, just the context of how everyone was feeling in 1969 at that point. I mean, what were the Beatles doing in 1969? They were trying to write music that was getting back to, that kind of feeling.
See what you did there.
And getting back to like the roots. And in a lot of ways, this might be them getting back to the roots, but also like in that context, I think that makes sense. And that's kind of what was in the air at that point for a lot of those bands. But a lot of those bands didn't have a career afterwards that was remember what we made for 3 years, which wasn't even like the most interesting part of those years. Like,
I can't help.
I don't know.
I can't help. Hear me out here. I can't help but think of this song in reference to a band like, I don't know. Let's just say the Kinks. In 1984, the Kinks come out with an album, Word of Mouth. And it is this kind of nostalgia-based record. These guys are 20 plus years into their career. And nobody is looking to the Kinks in 1984 to be on the vanguard of music. And they released this album that's not very good. But the first song on it is solid. It's nostalgia-based. And it's like kind of a banger. And it's like, you know what? This is good. I can get behind this song. It's all right. Anybody want to guess what the song was literally called?
Do It Again?
Do It Again.
Wow. Yeah.
And this is where I hear the song and I think, yeah, the Beach Boys could have made this song in 1984 and it would have worked.
Yeah.
But in 1969,
yeah.
Nope, not after this great trilogy of stuff because it's not just the song, it's what this song represents. It's we can again literally do it again. We want to do the thing that you loved and not try to chart any new ground. Because that's all that we can do when Brian is not at the helm.
Now, in full disclosure, Matt and I are discussing this in our, mid 40s. Remy, early 20s. You have to admit, right?
Yeah.
You have to admit that the fact that it resonates with Remy in a similar way.
It resonates in a different way.
Right, but I'm saying
it reads much more desperate in the way that, again, like the Beatles in the Get Back sessions read as desperate to get back to a certain feeling.
And that's my point, is that I think there
or
is
like the
something
Stones
here.
going back a little bit more, back to bluesy stuff. Like it was just a trend in music at that point.
And that's my point, that it does have an element of it that is somewhat timeless. And if you can look at it in that regard, we, of course, here on this podcast are looking at the Beach Boys kind of culturally and how this kind of just bizarre story unfolds and how it interacts with what's going on in the world at the time. From that perspective, yeah, this is kind of ugh. Mm-hmm. Could have been better. But that's track one.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that one.
I think that sets the tone, though.
It does.
We've got that. And so speaking of, hey, let's do it again. Why not pick a Spectre song?
Yeah.
And so track
I can
two,
hear music.
I can hear music.
First song written by a murderer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Murderer written songs.
Wow.
The count is at 1.
Count is at 1.
Yep.
We
Phil Spector. Yep.
Phil Spector.
Of course, convicted
died in prison.
Murder.
Yes, died of COVID in prison. So at least COVID accomplished one good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we've got I Can Hear Music. I mean, it's a classic Spectre song.
Yeah.
Spectre
Tim's note here: good Carl vocal, but a pointless cover. Good production though. I'm gonna say, Tim, you don't. Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. The song's super. It's warm. It's like inviting. I like it.
There's something about it that just feels forgettable to me. As good as it is, I kind of forget about it just because it is so just kind of normal and standard,
Okay.
It's not in a bad way. It's a really, really good arrangement.
If this feels typical of Beach Boys, if we were going to say vision, is this looking forward or looking back?
Oh, definitely. Back.
it's
Right.
looking back.
So we've got 2 tracks now that have been looking back. And if we're going with this 2020 theme, 2020 vision, like,
Ooh,
okay.
Hindsight is 2020.
Hey.
Its arrangement. Its arrangement is leaves a little to be desired at points. I don't like the I can hear music all the time part where they all kind of like where it drops out. I don't know if that's the middle 8 or bridge or whatever. It feels a little sloppy. Is it Carl like arranging this then?
I think so.
Like,
I think Carl's handling the production duties here.
Which it's a good
is.
a good someone who's not Brian trying to do a Brian kind of sounds.
Yep. It's an important stepping stone for Carl in terms of becoming more than just Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll do a lot better in the next 2 albums for sure.
I like it. I like this.
Yeah.
So
All right,
track 3, though.
Bluebirds Over the Mountain.
Speaking of looking back, this is like a kind of a classic rockabilly song.
It stinks.
It sucks.
I hate it.
I don't mind it. It's not a Beach Boys song. It doesn't
Tim
feel
gives
like
a one-word review here. Dumb.
Yeah, okay, I can get behind that. I enjoy it for it just being a song, but the fact that it's a Beach Boys song on this album is just, it doesn't make
You want to
sense.
know something
I
great?
Go ahead.
It was the lead single.
Oh, of
No.
course.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we'll talk about what backed it, but the song that backed it is really funny. Just think about the most cursed song on the album. It's the one that backed it.
Well, so Bruce Johnson kind of takes more of a lead on this one, which maybe is partially why it feels off. Like it just feels like it's not.
Which that's
what
a running
does this
theme.
guy bring to the band?
Well, that's a running theme in there. We've talked about the 2 albums coming up next before on the old Strange Currencies music podcast, but it's a theme on that where like Bruce just keeps trying to do it. Like he's genuinely trying to write a Beach Boys song. It just always sounds like someone who's trying to do the Beach Boys, opposed to this is a person who's in the Beach Boys.
He gets there even further in a few minutes, but yeah.
Yeah, it's
I hate the guitar on this song. Like the like that hairy guitar. It sucks.
Yeah.
I hate it. Yeah.
All right, well, track 4, we give another person some producer opportunities here. And so Dennis takes the lead here with Be With Me.
It stinks.
It has its moments, but the good moments don't save it. I don't think it stinks, but it's not great.
I mean, this is Dennis's, like, he's starting to kind of feel it out there. Like, Brian's not doing anything. Carl's trying to piece something together. Dennis is trying.
You guys keep saying that Brian
better.
wasn't doing anything, but literally the best song on this album was written by Brian. So
Several years before.
several years before,
Right,
I guess,
that's
but still.
my point. Yeah. It's whatever.
I'm not a fan of this one
Well,
either. And look, I stick up for Dennis as much as I can. I don't know if we are right in giving our 4.5 star thing, Dennis. I've been starting to think maybe we should have given that to Carl. But anyway, Dennis, he's going to do better than this. He's going to do worse than this. Hold that thought for just a few seconds, really. But it's fine.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting path to where he ends up with his solo album.
I was going to say, I could actually hear
it's on
this
the
song
path.
kind of fitting
I
on
can't wait.
Pacific Ocean Blue.
Yeah.
See, that's my thing.
Opposed to like, I wanted to say like Little Bird is like his first really, but that's still a very Beach Boysy
Brian
song. That's a Brian song. But then this is, that first step to like, okay, I can see where he's going.
Yeah. It's fine.
And then we get
It's just tired.
Yeah.
All right.
Then we get track 5.
And why is he tired? Well, maybe he recorded this song first.
So instead of
do
talking about
track
this song,
5.
my only comment will be I listened to the I Can Hear Music box set released a few years ago. That's like the studio tracks.
It's a digital only thing.
Yeah, digital only thing. And there is a demo instrumental track of All I Want to Do.
We've
the
only
actual
like
good
vaguely
song.
alluded to that song, and let's not get too far into it because it's coming up soon. And
Oh, my bad.
there's gonna be a little bit of gushing going on.
I was just gonna say
but
that if you want to hear an instrumental demo of that, it's there, and it's way fucking better than this song is, even an unfinished
heavy version.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think it's just instrumental too, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's sitar. I'm like so confused about what it is. It might be like a weird harpsichord that they like muted and then put reverb on.
Are you guys talking about All I Want to Do?
Yeah.
For people who are not in the know, the Beach Boys have two songs here that sound very similar in name. There is All I Want to Do and there's All I Want to Do. These songs, even though they basically are almost the exact same title, could not be more different.
One is,
and we will talk about All I Want to Do soon. That ends up coming out on Sunflower.
It is excellent. This one, as excellent as that
excellent,
one is,
you
that's
hold
how bad
that
this
thought.
one is.
Yeah,
it might be their best song.
This song right here is trash.
It's
terrible.
awful. It's horrible.
Dennis is literally doing it with a groupie.
I listened to it with headphones yesterday. I regret listening to it with headphones.
And it's so like there is no subtlety or nuance. He's literally, I want to do it. It's like, oh my God, this is so bad.
It's a Dennis Doing It song.
Yeah, it's a Dennis Doing It song, and it's the first of many Dennis Doing It songs.
And when you think of like,
well, actually, Dennis isn't singing it though.
I know.
No,
it's
Mike's
singing
singing
it,
it,
right?
which is even worse.
Yeah.
Notorious Ladies Man, Mike Love.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
it's just it's just
Sucks.
bad all the way around.
Sucks.
It's awful.
Yeah. Hold on. We haven't given Tim all that much airtime here lately. So with Be With Me, he said a good Dennis song, but not great. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
All I Want to Do, he says, a bad Dennis song. Yeah, it's bad. It sucks. One of the worst Beach Boys songs up to this point.
It's one of the worst. It just, even in terms of like, even if there are songs that are worse technically than it, it just makes me feel so gross.
Yeah,
it has all
gross.
of the subtlety of a jackhammer,
Yeah.
and it's just dumb.
And the thought of Dennis just like using his like rock star status to sleep with probably an underage groupie,
Yep.
like, and
It's
just like
not.
It might have been part of the Manson family. Who knows? But,
right.
yeah. Gross.
Oh,
Gross. Dennis, come on. Get your life together, man.
It's gross.
All right. Rounding out this side is exactly what everybody wants. A Bruce Johnston conducted instrumental in which he tries to be the Brian Wilson replacement that he was brought in to be.
And you know what? It's not bad.
It isn't. It's not bad.
It's not terrible.
It's not.
It has its moments. Is it sacrilegious that here's Bruce trying his hand at something only Brian can do?
In the grand scheme of Beach Boys instrumentals to this point, it's in the middle probably. There's worse ones on earlier albums for sure, and then there's
Denny's drums.
There's way better ones on albums before too. But
this is Bruce trying to make Let's Go Away for a While. Mm-hmm. And if you view it through that lens, it's like, that's not even cute. That's just like
offensive,
embarrassing.
No, see, if I view it through that way, there's a little bit of me that's like, okay, I can appreciate that. I can see what he's doing, and I appreciate the effort. It's not a good effort, nor not a great effort, but it's an effort.
It's an effort. All right,
it's fine.
Yeah. Let's move on. Actually, let's take a quick break. That's it for side A. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We're going to talk about side B of 2020. This is Talking Down the Highway. For those who forgot in the split second of that break there. What did you guys do during that break?
I told you both that we need to pick things up because we're already like 3/4 of the way through our allotted time. So let's move on.
Opening track of side 2.
Pointless.
The strangest Beach Boys hit.
Was a hit?
Well, everywhere but in the
hit.
U.S. It was a hit everywhere but in the U.S.
Dumb.
Cotton Fields is mass. Like, if you go to Australia and ask somebody in Australia, Beach Boys, this is the song that comes to their mind.
Wow.
It's awful. The only thing notable about it is that it's song number 2 that is written by a
Convicted murderer. Yeah. Lead belly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Creedence Clearwater Revival, which, by the way, plugging a recent CCR catalog crawl that I just put together, they did a version of Cotton Fields in 1969 as well, too. And it's fucking great.
Yeah, because it's CCR.
And here's one of the, well, I mean, CCR and the Beach Boys are two of the great American bands, but the CCR one, and here's where the Beach Boys should win, is in vocal harmonies and everything. They suck. It's like mostly just an owl thing, and it's lame. The Creedence version has like really good harmonies, and it has some actual sense of soul. Like, these are people who actually, maybe listened to Lead Belly once. Yeah. Whereas this is just like the most ballless, pointless cover. It's awful. It's offensively bland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's thin and it's bland, and it's kind of like a facsimile of the soul that maybe, I don't know, it maybe comes off better in other countries where there's a glossy sheen of Americana.
They did the sound. I don't want to say better because I'm not a huge Carl and the Passions fan, but they do this sound later on, and it feels a lot more genuine than this. Yeah. Holland has a little bit of that sound too, and it's a lot better.
Yeah.
So again, it's interesting in the this is like them from like 2 or 3 years, like, cosmically sending a little message of what they're going to sound like for 2 albums in the future. Like, it's weird in that regard, but it's unremarkable.
You know what,
really.
though? If this is the worst,
we're spending way too much time.
If this is the worst song on the second half, which I think maybe it is, it's not bad.
Yeah. All right. I went to sleep.
I kind of don't remember this one.
That's my. I don't even remember this one if I'm not listening to it.
Yeah.
Tim replies, "Finally, a good song."
What does he say about Cotton Fields?
Cotton Fields said good owl vocal, but also pointless.
Yeah, pointless is a good.
I would even not even say that it's good owl vocal.
It's Brian gets producer credit on this one.
Yep.
Can you remember this one?
Not really. But I mean,
like, none of us can remember this song.
And when Tim sent out that note, I went back to listen to it again, and I was like, oh, okay. And I hit play.
Oh,
does this one have like from this spot?
Does this one have like weird little synthy things in it?
This one.
Yes, this one. This is one. I know this.
This reminds me of Mount Vernon and Fair.
Well, I was gonna write. This is gonna be a very specific audience who's gonna know this, but there's this little water electronic music show at the Enchanted Forest theme park in Oregon, and this sounds like music that they would have during that, and it's amazing, and I really like that.
That it just went up a couple steps in my book now.
Yeah, if you picture yourself in the Enchanted Forest and hearing it, you're like, okay, I can see this.
I had to be reminded of what it actually is because I listened to it less than 12 hours ago, but. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. When you remember, it's like, this is.
All
right, Time to Get Alone.
Way to go, Brian. Time to Get Alone.
Best original song on the album.
Deep and Wide.
Well, but
what is that? The whole jump scare. It's like super soft and.
I kind of like it.
Deep and Wide.
It's a nice harmony. I think this song is really good.
It's a good song.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's a good song.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything to say other than the best original non-Smile song on this album.
It's kind of pretty. It's all right.
And it's totally a Brian song. So, even though Rate Your Music says Carl produced it, which if he did, this is much closer to a Brian produced sound than. Yeah.
Yep. I like it. It's good. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It's pretty. It doesn't have a whole lot of substance compared to a great Brian song, but it's a good Brian song. And a good Brian song is good enough right now compared to some of the other dreck on this album. So,
all right, now this is the one that's probably most talked about. The 4th track on the B-side, Never Learn Not to Love.
And bear in mind, guys, we've only got about 10 minutes left in this episode.
Originally known as Cease to Exist.
Well,
Cease to Resist.
Well, okay,
exist.
so here's the thing.
No, it ceased to exist.
Okay,
That was the Manson one,
Version.
and then Resist was the Beach Boys, and then they changed it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because then Pixies
Yeah, 'cause that's
ceased
what
to
I was gonna
exist
say.
on Weight of Mutilation. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I just now saw that line, and Wave of Mutilation is one of my favorite
all right,
songs
so
ever.
this is the song that ties the Beach Boys to Charles Manson. The story goes deeper.
Oh, wait a minute. It sounds like it's time for an episode of Heroes and Villains.
Wow, this late?
All right, it's time for Heroes and Villains, where we discuss the heroes and the villains, whatever it is that we happen to be talking about this week. And this week we're talking about 2020.
2020.
All right, hero. Actually, we got to do this really quickly because we are running short on time. We would be remiss here at Talking on the Highway if we did not mention the recent passing of Melinda Ledbetter, Melinda Wilson, Brian Wilson's second wife, who, by all accounts, played a major role in his recovery and his ability to get back to performing and being the Brian Wilson that we all know and love. And very, very unfortunate, sad news in the Beach Boys world. So she is our hero for this week. Absolutely. Villain.
And I think also just heroes, those surrounding Brian that love him and that care for him.
Absolutely.
And that, want to help him be the best that he can be. And
Yeah.
villains, on the other hand.
All right. So you're talking about Charles Manson.
Okay. So we have some villains. They are...
Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Charles Manson writes this song, Never Learn Not to Love.
Right.
Which Dennis doesn't credit him with, and which creates this whole deal of friction. And Remy, you wanted to tell a story real quick here. Tell the Charles Manson story.
Oh, no, I'm just going to say that there's conflicting reports of how they met, but basically that they were friends for a short time. They felt a strange little kinship to each other. Manson offered to write a song for them. Dennis was like, sure. Dennis took credit for it. They split, and then,
things happen.
Rumor has
why
it...
why we know who Charles Manson is happened.
Like right after this album, right?
Right
the Sharon
after,
Tate murders were almost
over a month after this album
and
came out.
rumor has it that Dennis picks up a couple of
Well,
Manson
yeah, that's
family
the
members.
rumors,
And so shortly Dennis's house becomes, Party Central.
Because Dennis is into doing it.
He's into doing it. There's anecdotes about like the whole Manson family gets gonorrhea and like Dennis pays to have them all treated at the doctor.
Hey,
so they start.
I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I think the one scene Manson is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he mentions Dennis. Or no, there is some sort of like Beach Boys reference.
Well, there's
that
also
is also like connected to
there's
Manson.
also the story that Manson sees Dennis as his opportunity to make it big, and so Dennis gets him, connected, brings him into the studio.
Hey, bottom line is we are literally right now talking about Charles Manson, and we are in the middle of an episode of Heroes and Villains. So obviously the villain here is
Mike Love.
Mike Love.
Yeah.
Mike Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike
Why?
Love.
Because he's standing front and center on this
front and
album
center.
cover.
He's
Balls is all
demanding that
fucked,
he is
wearing a
like-
shirt that's too short for him.
He sings on All I Want to Do.
yeah.
Do it again. He's responsible for do it again.
Hey.
Do it again's good.
We're not having a
Yeah,
do
well,
it again
But
discussion.
Mike is the eternal villain.
Yeah, he's the eternal villain.
Even worse than one of the most notorious mass murders in American history. Mike Love is still worse.
Yeah, still worse.
Yeah. Great episode.
Still worse.
All right.
Solid episode.
We end this
That's a good
album with a
episode.
couple of leftovers, and this is where the album kind of feels like a punch to the gut to me, because it's like, you know what? We've already had this hodgepodge, weird ass thing, and now we're going to remind you of what you didn't get from us. We have Our Prayer and Cabinescence.
Convicted murderer count at 3. We got
with Manson, yeah.
We got Manson, Lead Belly, Inspector. Okay. And then we get to Our Prayer and Cabinescence, holdovers
Look,
from
they were
Smile.
both great songs already. They're both still great
Re-recorded.
songs, even in slightly different versions here. I will just go on the record again of saying Cabinescence has never been one of my favorite Smile songs. I have
it's
always felt
one
like
of
it's a
mine.
little claustrophobic and cluttered.
Nope.
But it's still
it's
clearly
wonderful.
so
It's amazing.
easily the best thing that's
It's
on this
actually
album.
not wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It is simultaneously looking back, but also looking forward at what they could
And it adds
be.
to the curseness. I think Our Prayer being in this is interesting. That specific song is the one that was supposed to be like the prayer song. Like, the whole Brian, I want to make music that people pray to. Like that was one of the songs he was thinking of.
So
And then it gets like crassly tacked on as the penultimate track here.
Yeah, it's weird.
And then Cabinescence, which always has a really unsettling kind of feel at the end of it, just ends this album, which just adds again to that weird cursed level of it.
Well-
Look, and again, I've said, and it's a me thing, that Cabinescence has never been. I've always preferred, Heroes and Villains, and obviously Surfs Up and Good Vibrations, and
that said, it's still great.
it's still so easily the best thing on this album that it just
Although-
puts into perspective how great Smile was and how
What it could have
this
been.
album.
In
Yes.
this version, though, in the re-recording, I'm pretty sure the instrumental is the same from Smile, at least the Smile sessions.
the backing.
The vocal track is different, and I know that because in Smile they say the Iron Horse, and in this one they say the Iron Horse, and it bugs me. There's like a weird pronunciation where they say iron like that.
This
and I
is-
don't like it.
ironic.
This is also where the fourth murderer appears.
Huh?
The fourth murderer, the session drummer protege of Hal Blaine, the percussionist and drummer Jim Gordon, who also is known for co-writing Layla with Eric Clapton. Screw that guy. Jim Gordon killed his mother.
Oh,
Yep. And played tambourine on Cabinescence.
murderers all around.
Yeah, and also was all over Pet Sounds. He was,
Wait, what part of Layla did he write?
I don't know, he and Clapton wrote Layla.
Ooh, yeah, I think he might be the guy who wrote the good part of Layla. The
All-
second
all-
half, which is
all-
way better than the first half.
All of that song is great.
Anyway, all right, hey, we got to rate this thing because we are running really, really short on time.
Yeah, Bruce produced an episode. It's a Bruce. Meh. Bruce produced a song. It's a Bruce.
It's like a Carl. It's a Carl for me.
Tim gives it a Bruce. So for the catalog crawl, we gave it an 8.0, which would actually put it would put it at a very, very light Carl. Incidentally, it came in at number 13 just perfectly because that's where it belongs.
You gave it a.
I distinctly
An
like it.
8?
I distinctly like it more this time than I liked it when we were doing the catalog crawl too.
What?
There's just something about it. Like it has grown on me so much over the past week. There was one listen where I was like, is this a almost pushing Dennis, but it's not. It's not.
It's so not.
It's Carl.
You might
It's a Carl.
convince me that it's an Al Jardine, but I'm kind of.
I'm gonna go Al. I'm gonna go out. I would even be close to saying I can agree with our earlier rating of it at an 8.0, but I just feel like it's an Al. It just to me feels more like
It feels more like an Al than a Carl.
Yeah.
It feels more like a 3.5 than a 4.
And
I almost would argue that it needs to be a 3.
Well, the fact that we can't
Bruce.
really agree on this also just perfectly summarizes
Yeah.
this record. It's
Yeah.
just a mess.
I don't think
Frankenstein.
you can say an album with Do It Again, Time to Get Alone, and like Cabinescence is a 3.5. And there are more songs that are great too.
It also has Bluebirds Over the Mountain and Dennis
but
doing
it also
it.
has
All I want, yeah.
But it also has I
And
Can
it
Hear
also
Music.
has Do It Again, which again.
But it has
is
Do It Again.
I know, but it also that represents again. The
Hey,
point
we are
is-
not here to relitigate Do It Again. we are
Yeah.
rapidly approaching an hour,
all
so
right,
we got
it's an Al. It's an Al.
Al seems fair.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's a Carl. It's a good Carl.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You're supposed to say I don't agree to that.
I don't agree to
And-
that.
All right, we'll be right back to wrap it all up here. All right, we're back wrapping it all up. We were really, really pushing the hour mark there on this one, so we're gonna do a quick wrap up. Just as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, smash that like button. Check out all that great content on StrangeCurrencieSmusic.com. Any last words from y'all?
I like Carl.
I like Do It Again.
All right. Well, hey, we'll be back next week to talk about another Beach Boys classic.
Oh,
We'll see you then.
I don't know.